Today I am going to teach you how to do ombre painting. I use it a lot in my sign business. So I make these, it says drink local, and the ombre is blending the colors and fading up. So in this sign I started at white, went to robin's egg, Antigua, a dark sage, and then I faded back. A lot of times you can start at one color and just fade darker all the way down, or reverse. You can do different options, or you can do two colors and just do multiple lines all the way across. But the trick is to blend the colors really well between each line. So this is a very common practice I do. So with this, I put a stencil down and then I just slap the paint all over it, and I'll show you how to do the ombre, and then I remove the stencil and I end up with these really nice lines and designs. So that is that. But what I'm going to do today is make an ocean scene. So it's going to be a very small version of this big old thing. So we're not going to do the waves today, but we're going to blend the underneath colors. This is just a very large one, so I wanted to make small little samples that I could show people the possibilities. So on my large one, I used real sand that we collected from our Cancun trip, but I don't want to use all that sand on every ocean scene I do. So on this one, it looks like real sand, but it's actually this spray paint. This one is multicolored, textured. It's like a stone type, but it's made by Rust-Oleum. So on the cap you can see that it has quite a few. It has some texture in it, and it has some different colors, so it actually looks like real sand, and it's definitely much easier to do than using real sand. So what we're going to do, I picked these 4 colors, and you can pick whichever colors you want. I like starting with the deeper ocean color, kind of fading up, and doing a little kind of minty blue on the shallow water. So that's what I'm gonna do. So the trick to ombre is obviously blending well between the lines, but to be able to do that, you need to make sure each color is pretty thick paint-wise. Let's see. And definitely you always have to get some on you. You can't come away from this clean, so don't think that you're going to. So we get the edges really nice first. Okay, so I'm gonna set that brush to the side, and I'm gonna grab my next brush, and I made sure that's pretty thick. This layer is pretty thick. And I'm gonna put my next layer on, and I'm just gonna put it right up to it. I don't wanna drag this brush through that first color, not yet. I want to get nice, and get the edges nice. Now I am going to, I'm going to go ahead and blend these 2 colors because they're nice and wet right now. So I'm just going to take just maybe 25% of the bristles on this side and kind of drag them through. Now I don't want to flip my brush over. I want to keep the dark side on the same side as the dark paint. That way I don't drip it down further than I want. And I need to kind of go up and bring it down a little bit. I don't want to go too far because I want to make sure that I still have a color difference between the two. And definitely you got to make sure you blend those edges in, otherwise it's not going to look right. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I like the way the color goes. And here, so say I think I'm getting too light on the dark side, I can just add a little bit more in. I have a little lump of paint. And then I have that to drag through. So I can, and then if I want a little bit more light, I can add that to it. Why do I keep getting these little pieces? Okay. And then, like I said, make sure you make your edges match. You don't want those to not match the front. Okay. Okay, so I like those colors. So now I'm gonna grab a third brush and I'm gonna go to my more turquoise color right here. And I'm gonna add this, and I'm just gonna go real close. So this red is just a waterproof paint that I used because the board I used doesn't really care for water so much. Not fake ocean water, actual water. So if this got rained on, it wouldn't be so good, or if somebody tried to wash it off. So I just waterproof it just to keep it nice and safe. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna keep the same brush, and I'm just gonna take about 25% of it through that blue right there, which has started drying a little bit. So I'm gonna add just a tiny bit in here. Not much, it doesn't take much. Make sure I keep my brush facing the same way. And then I'm just gonna keep kind of going up, fading down until I like blend. You know, and when you think it's blended enough, do it 20 more times, because you'd be surprised. I need some more of this. You'd be surprised when you're done. You're like, oh, I wish I would have done that just a little bit more. So just keep going. You wanted a nice, smooth transition. Okay, so now I'm going to use my final color, and I want to cover up the edges of the sand. So once I put my waves on with the white, I'll make sure that makes a nice transition between the sand and this color. But just for the sake of teaching you the ombre effect, unless you're making a board like this, you wouldn't typically have the sand like what I have. You would just, I don't know, have a stencil or whatever you're painting. But let me just kind of, I want to blend it just a little bit right here, just to kind of make it a nice transition. Okay. So now, again, see, I am always covered. So now I want to, I'm actually going to add a little bit more turquoise right here. And I'm going to use this brush to blend it, since it has a bunch of turquoise on it. And you can just kind of keep going back and forth between brushes. I typically have quite a few brushes in my hands when I'm doing this. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Let's see. Right about here. Can you guys see those little dots? That means there's not enough paint right there, so it's not smooth. It's like the brush kind of skips over a spot. So if you get that, you really need to make sure you blend it and add a little bit more. You know, the other thing you can do if you get to a spot, especially like the edges that are not easy to do, you can take your finger and you can just kind of blend it like this. Do this quite a bit actually, because you can switch fingers. You'll end up having paint on every finger. But you can kind of pull down the darker, kind of keep working your way. Let's see. And then it'll look like me, all nice and pretty. I mean, that's pretty, come on. So anyway, there is my ocean. There's my sand. I kind of blotched it intentionally right here, and that's just gonna be a little see-through spot when I get my waves done. So even though this board is something different than one of my signs, let's see if I can pick it up without getting paint all over it. Even though this is a different project completely than this, the technique is still the same. So if I was making this sign with my stencil on it, I would just keep going over and blending it nice between the colors. I would choose a few, you know, you can choose two and alternate, go back and forth, like, you know, blue, white, blue, white, blue, white. You can choose 3, 5 colors, whatever you need. You can start one color and end at the last color, or you can go in and then back down to your original color. You can do it basically however you want, but I think it's a really nice color technique process to make it just a little more unique than just painting this sign a solid white, black, hot pink, whatever color you choose. So there you have it. I'm gonna go get cleaned up. I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'm going to pour my epoxy and do some other fun things with this, but that's a whole other conversation. So you guys have a great week, and I will see you soon.